Welcome back to Mental Health Matters. We have a fantastic show for everyone today, and we're so glad you're joining us today. Welcome. So this is Mental Health Matters with Dr. Scott Terry, and today we're going to be talking again about this notion of volunteering and RSVP with a couple special guests today. But I want you to know that you could listen to the past shows are archived on YouTube, and you could simply dial in Ardent Counseling Center and look it up there. Or you can go to the Ardent Center website and look in the media tab, and you will see podcasts and you'll see links to the YouTubes and all kinds of stuff. So if you have any questions at all about anything, we love when we get you send in our questions. So send us an email, let us know what you're thinking about, what you'd like more shows on, or participate. Come and help us. Anyways, so back to the show for today. So, John, introduce yourself and tell us why we're talking about this show today.
Hi, Scott. Thanks for having me on again. And RSVP is Retired and Senior Volunteer Program. We have a presence here, have had a presence here in Fairfield, Iowa, for the past 2 years. We now have 30 volunteers. It is oriented towards the seniors over age 55 to help re-engage them in the community, especially for those who retired, but you don't have to be retired to serve in RSVP. Still, it helps to re-engage them, give them a sense of purpose, and it also provides a lot of significant personal benefits. Let me just touch on a few of them. Helping make new friends, obviously. Volunteering increases your social relationship skills, of course. It tends to increase self-confidence in a volunteer, providing, of course, a sense of purpose, like I mentioned. And let me call it a happiness quotient. Compared with people who never volunteered, the odds of being very happy rose 7% among those who volunteer monthly, and 12% for people who volunteer every 2 to 4 weeks. 16% for those who volunteer weekly. So
where's that from?
This is from www.helpguide.org/articles.
Oh, fantastic.
And it's a fairly recent research study, but it verifies several other studies.
And we've heard the same things a million times.
Exactly.
And it makes logical sense. You know, for this town, for Fairfield, there's a lot of people who come to town who are looking to make friends, to make connections, and to also have that greater sense of purpose back in their lives. So there's a great opportunity. And as you're going to talk about in a little bit, this, regardless of where in the world, anywhere in the world that you're listening to this volunteer type work really does matter. And you could get involved no matter where it is and find connection. It's the isolation often that kills us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, it's like we often think, oh, we're depressed. Well, we could be depressed because we're isolated, or even if we're depressed and we're not isolated, we tend to withdraw, for example. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And by getting out and having that greater sense of purpose, it really stimulates that growth and comes back to a center of
certainly. And I think RSVP is helpful because it gives that direction that the person might lack on their own. If they said, well, I'm feeling kind of down a little bit, I'd like to get more involved, what can I do? I give that little impetus. I say, hey, I've got 20 agencies in town here.
20?
That you can choose from. Some are hands-on physical, some are more mental, some are more relationship. So there's really something for everyone.
And it's a way, again, to engage in the community and to mostly to re-engage within yourself.
Making the community a more vibrant community and really helping yourself as well.
You know what I also really like about it is, you know, with a lot of people that I see that maybe are anxious or depressed or whatever's going on in their life, maybe their just relationship isn't working. Coming back to that greater sense of purpose is so powerful. And I like the fact that you could be working and you just have to be over 55, right?
Right.
And you could still do something like this, and it could be a minimal amount of time. Is that correct?
You can serve. I have a volunteer that serves about 1 or 2 hours per year.
Really?
I have another volunteer who serves about 30 hours a week.
So it's a full range,
exactly,
and just finding what works for you to re-engage yourself, to find connection and greater purpose.
I think a lot of people are hesitant to get involved because they think, I don't have hours every week.
Yeah, I certainly feel like that.
And I'm not talking about that. So I tell them right up front, you can serve 1 or 2 hours a year if you want to. Just get on board, see how it tastes, and you'll probably want to do it more often.
Wow. So, thank you. Thank you, John. Thank you so much, Keep, for spreading the word and for doing the work that you do, because you do some really important work in this community.
Thank you.
And I don't know how often people thank you, but they really should.
I appreciate it. And I wanted to mention today that we have a special guest with us, Laura Bordeaux, who is the lower school director at Maharshi School. Maharshi School has just signed on as one of those 20 agencies.
Really?
And what I'd like to do is just briefly go through those agencies just with a few-word description, and then turn it over to Laura and let her give us an overview of the particular opportunity that she has.
But I just want to get clear for our listeners outside of Fairfield. And again, if you're lucky enough to listen in Fairfield, come volunteer and listen to the radio shows and make a difference in your life. But even if you're not in Fairfield, you can do the same kind of work. And the example of the Maharishi School is the same example that you could do in other places.
Certainly.
Is that correct?
Yeah. RSVP number 1 is a nationwide program.
Yeah.
275,000 volunteers right now. And it's funded by the Corporation for National Community Service. So it is a tax dollars funded program. But you can, as you said, you can do this. Any country in the world is very likely to welcome someone who wants to tutor in the school system or help in an aging program or help with the animal shelter, whatever. I mean, it's just a matter of seeking out the opportunities in the community where you live.
And if you live in the States, you could contact this program somewhere else. How would they contact this program? I'm sorry to interrupt you to get back to this. I'm just so excited.
Just RSVP alone will probably not do it. I've tried that, and you tend to get Respondez, s'il vous plaît, which is the spin-off. But if you do retired and senior volunteer program, that's one way, just a Google search.
Yeah.
Or you could do a Google search for Senior Corps, and
excellent.
RSVP will come up. And then, there's a directory. Just type in your zip code or your state, and you're there.
Fantastic. All right. So listen no matter where you're at, because it's still pertinent to you. So, John, tell us what are these 20 organizations?
Certainly. Okay. So these are listed alphabetically, not according to personal preference.
Okay. All right.
No one's paying me extra to get at the top of the list.
Okay. Nothing for ice cream shops, free volunteers there?
No, that's a good idea. I like that.
Yeah.
So there's one that's out of the county, the first one, American Gothic House.
Oh.
Everything else is within Jefferson County.
Okay.
That's my
American Gothic House with the pitchfork and the whole...
Right, exactly. Grant Wood.
Ah.
You can help. One of my volunteers is there helping with tours and other duties as needed there.
Very cool.
It's a little bit of a drive. It's about a 20-mile drive.
Okay.
So it's not as convenient as others. AmeriCorps Green Iowa has a weatherization program. They also do a lot of tree planting on campus and in the orchard adjacent.
Yeah, I've seen some of the great work they've done.
Yeah. So that's
really fantastic.
People like to get out there and get muscular about it. That's a great opportunity.
Yeah, I've helped in that one.
Have you? Cool.
Yeah.
And Art Walk, of course, needs people to staff their welcome table.
Okay.
The first Friday.
Mm-hmm.
The CoLab sometimes has opportunities, not as often as others, but it's the business startup in town here.
Mm-hmm.
The community garden is... Last year they had a little bit more than this year, but I'm hoping to get a relationship going there too. Sondheim Center has a lot of ushering opportunities. I have about 6 or 7 volunteers.
I always wondered about that. I ushered in Chicago for the Opera House, and I got to have free... get to sit in for free.
That's the best.
Can you actually do that?
That's the best deal of all the. I think.
Okay, so if you usher, you actually get to sit in the concert for free.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You show up 45 minutes in advance, and just wait for those who need seating, and then afterwards you help clean up brochures and such for 20 minutes. So otherwise you're there
easy peasy
for the whole program.
Yeah, sounds fun. Okay.
The library has programs throughout the year. She's always, Rebecca Johnson, the director, always happy to have people.
Yeah,
connect.
she's come on the show before. She's done a great job.
Yeah.
Amazing, that library.
Indeed. Habitat for Humanity and Restore builds homes, low-income homes, and sells construction materials that they use for funding their low-income home project.
And that's of course a wonderful national organization.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Jimmy Carter, famous.
Yeah,
for that
absolutely.
involvement.
Did incredible work there.
They're out on the west side of town, 32nd, out there by Fessler's
Okay.
and Burlington.
Mm-hmm.
And they're happy to have people come and do a shift now and then, cashiering, whatever.
Okay.
Hospice, as the need arises, there are trained staff to meet with the person in hospice and just help them in their final months of life. Okay?
Very rewarding
Absolutely.
work.
Yeah.
Very rewarding. I've worked with a lot of people in hospice.
Indian Hills has an ESL, English as a Second Language program, which I'm a part of, and one other volunteer. And it is a delight to work with these young students.
And find out about different cultures and different ways of life. Yeah,
absolutely. Iowa State Extension, which I will talk about more later, one of the newer features, which is primarily their 4-H program. We'll talk about that. Marsha School, of course, Laura will cover that.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear about that program, actually.
Agency on Aging, which is a part of the Senior Center downtown.
Okay.
I have a volunteer there that is Renee Erickson, that is teaching a Qigong class.
Renee is fantastic.
Twice a week.
She does.
She just came in at the moment that Mary and John Platt moved to New York.
Yeah,
which they had been doing it, and so she was a perfect timing as far as a replacement. Pence Elementary have lots of opportunities there. Have a mentoring program once a week for 20 minutes. Have a tutoring program, which could be as often as you want, math and English primarily. And I will touch later on their senior letter writing program, which will begin in August. We'll talk about that. Noah's Ark, Animal Shelter, of course.
Lovely.
And let's see here. The Regional Blood Center, Welcome Table, Lord's Cupboard Food Pantry, and
does incredible work as well.
But not least, VITA, the tax preparation service. Last
VITA
season,
it's called?
Yes. Don't ask me what it stands for because I can't tell you that.
But it helps people with taxes who...
Low income, below... Not terribly low, but below $55,000 a year.
Oh, really? Yeah. So that would include a lot of people here.
Yeah, 300 people took advantage of it locally.
Yeah, and that's really important. Obviously, if we don't have our finances together, we're in trouble.
Right. Yeah. It's a very expensive process otherwise.
Yeah. So. Well, not only that, but maybe learning how to save some money and that you don't have to pay that tax, or this one you should, and knowing what the rules of the game, like anything, really gives us some power. Yeah. And possibility over our lives. So, okay. Anything else before we turn it to Laura?
Turn over to Laura at this point, and then I'll touch
all right. So before Laura says, I want to talk. I just want to say, welcome to KRUU 100.1 on your FM dial, and I'm so glad that you are finally here to talk.
Great.
So Laura, tell us about this great place.
Yes. Thank you for having me, John. Thank you for inviting me. I didn't know anything about RSVP until I talked to John very recently. And the way I found out about it, I was at the library. I brought a bunch of students from Marsha School to the library for a STEM day. They were offering opportunities for grade level students to come in and participate in STEM activities. And there were so many volunteers there, I started asking them, where did you come from? How did you get involved in this? Because I was so impressed by how they were engaging with the children. And they said, we're part of RSVP. I said, what's RSVP? And I wrote it down. And then I found out, and I went and saw John. And to hear about all the different organizations that you're helping and all the volunteers, it really is just a fabulous addition to our community. So thank you for your service.
You're welcome. Yeah, appreciate it.
Marsha School, I've been there for a long time, and we have a lot of areas where we could use volunteers, but one of the areas is a really exciting place. It's called a makerspace. And 3 years ago, we started the makerspace, and a makerspace, it's a separate classroom outside of the regular standard classrooms. It gives children in grades kindergarten through 6th grade the opportunity to invent, to create, to explore new materials and to learn new skills. So it's, what we know that has been considered good education for the past 50 years is no longer what children are going to need going into college, to having a career, to citizenship in the 21st century. There's new skills that they need to be preparing for as they enter this age of technology in the workforce. And education refers to what's called the 4 C's: collaboration, communication, critical thinking, and creativity. And these 4 skills are not skills that you would think are taught as subject areas in the classroom, but there's ways to develop creativity. There are ways to develop greater innovation. There's ways to get kids doing things. And a makerspace is a place where they're inventing to learn. They're not learning to invent. They're doing, they're experiencing, they're working with their hands, they're learning new skills. And I'm going to tell you about the areas in the makerspace where we could use volunteers because the teachers don't have these skills. But before I do that, the classroom itself had to look different. To be a 21st century classroom, it's not your standard desks in a row. It had to have it has a bright colored surface of tiles on the floor, all different colors, big colorful signs delineating the areas of the makerspace. No desks, just spaces where there's couches, spaces where you can just sit on the floor, big tables, small tables, workspaces. So what's in this space, these 7 areas? One is recyclables. And that everyone knows what recyclables are. So you have all the parents bringing in their empty egg cartons. They're bringing in plastic containers. They're bringing in straws and anything that you can recycle. So that's one area. Arts and crafts. Everyone knows what that is. Then there's high-tech areas. So there's high-tech and low-tech in the makerspace. The high-tech is robotics, computers, and coding. Wow. So young children from the age of 5, 6 can learn basic coding skills. For example, we have these 2 little robots. They're called Dash and Dot. And the children learn how to use Dash and Dot through apps on an iPad. So they're controlling these little robots, but they have to build the coding skills. They have to build in the programming to make Dash and Dot go. And it's really exciting. It's very age appropriate. We have Legos and blocks for the budding architects and engineers. We have a sewing circle where they do sewing and knitting and felting, a lot of hands-on. Tinkering. There's 2 areas, tinkering and woodworking. So I'm going to talk about those for a second. Tinkering is where children learn about conductivity, electricity. How do you make an LED bulb light up? How do you make the robots? The soldering skills, the circuitry, electricity, all of that. And then woodworking. We all know what woodworking is, but these 2 skills of tinkering and woodworking, our teachers don't know how to teach. So we need people who have skills in these areas, who can work with the children 1 hour a week, up to 4 hours a week. It's not a big commitment, but they can choose if they want to work every other week. We just need people who have the skills. Now, the woodworking part is really interesting. I don't know if many of you out there in the listening audience remember the putt-putt golf and the roller rink. So, I certainly do. My son was raised at putt-putt golf. I mean, he just loved it. And that was Larry and Lori Larson. Well, Larry passed away a couple years ago. And his wife, Lori, heard about our makerspace. And she heard that we were having this woodworking area. And she knew how much Larry loved children. And so he had a garage full of tools and saws and hammers and nails and all of that. She donated everything to our makerspace. And bless her heart, it's been the most successful area in the whole makerspace. Children are making birdhouses, they're cutting, they're hammering. I mean, little children, you can teach them to use real tools. And then we got a grant in the fall from the Iowa Council Governor's Office. They're really promoting STEM activities. STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math. And we want to integrate all of that. So we got up to $5,000 worth of new materials for the makerspace, especially for the woodworking and the electricity area. So a makerspace is a perfect example where STEM or STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and math go together. And I just really loved the contact that I had with the volunteers at the library. And when I talked to John, I realized that many of our children here in Fairfield don't have grandparents around. And I feel that what Scott was talking about earlier, that relationship, those connections, that meaningful work, that getting out and do something that you feel as a senior, and I'm well into my senior years, to do something productive. People ask me, why are you still working? You don't have to. It's like, no, I feel productive. I feel I'm contributing, giving back to society. And that's what I think RSVP is doing, is helping people contribute. Exactly. So I feel there's this win-win relationship by giving retired people a chance to work with young children. They both benefit. The elderly have so much knowledge and so many skills to share. And then the young children are just eager for the extra attention, for the support. So if anyone wants to come and just see Marisha School, we'd love to take you on a tour. But if you have these skills in woodworking and electrical knowledge, contact John and let us know. We'd love to put you to work.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Let me ask a couple of questions, if I could.
Mm-hmm.
So should the carpenter, for example, participating, should he or she have ideas of what to build, or should the student provide those ideas?
That's a good question. I think that we do have one woman that's going to be working in the carpentry area, and she's going to do some researching of the skills. We had Scott Tim. Many of you out there know Scott Tim. He developed a skill checklist, and we have ideas. Now, if a volunteer were to have ideas, they're totally welcome to share it. The kids will come up with their own ideas. They might say, I want to invent this, or I want to create this, and then they draw a picture, and then maybe the volunteers. So it can go either way.
Okay, good. And what kind of a commitment are you hoping for? Do you want for the semester, for the year, or a month, or what are you, what's the best?
Right, yeah. Commitments are good, but I understand how things come up, too, when you're volunteering. But I think for a semester, for a semester would be good.
Sure.
And if it's not working out, then, we talk. I'll be real hands-on with whoever the volunteers are to work it and make it right.
Okay. And one thing I suspect, it's not essential that they have any background with working either in a school system or with children. Is that correct?
No, it's just that you got to like children.
Yeah, sure. That's
so
helpful, yeah.
I think that's a good prerequisite, is that you just like being around children.
Yeah.
And then you have some skills to share.
Good. Okay. I think that... You said 3rd to 6th grades, yes?
No, first.
Oh,
really?
Yeah.
First, okay.
First grade. And they're so much fun.
Yeah,
and
I imagine. 1st through 6th.
1st through 6th.
Is this the only program that people could volunteer at?
Well, I mean, we do have volunteers, and oftentimes it's our parents who have kids in the school, but we are always searching out volunteers in the senior retired community to help with reading, because children need to be listened to when they're learning to read.
Yeah.
So our first grade reading teacher is great. Ann Balf is great at recruiting people to come in and give an hour a day, an hour a week.
But if for instance, you want to work with kids, but you're not sure.
Yes.
It's a starting point to sit there and say, contact John. John, how do they contact you again?
So that would be 91 in the 641 area, 919-4242, or email j.miller@wapello, 2 L's, COUW, County United Way, .org. That's
can you say that both of those again?
Sure. 641-919-4242, or j.miller@wapello, COUW.org. Let me ask Laura one other question, if I could, about, like Scott mentioned, someone isn't sure about how they will fit into that environment. How many children would the one volunteer work with on one project?
Good question. So if it were in the makerspace, in the woodworking area, it would be 2 children.
Okay.
And they would rotate. And they, as they progress, they learn different skills. Same in the tinkering area. So in the makerspace, it would be a 1-to-2 ratio.
Okay.
If they were working in the classroom, it depends. If they were working with tutoring or helping with reading, we have a lot of other opportunities. Then it just depends on what they'd like to do. But oftentimes in the classroom, it's just that one-on-one listening to kids read.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sounds
fantastic.
exciting.
Yeah,
Thanks.
so there's. It sounds really great. And again, I know they have this at other schools. So if you're anywhere in the world, all schools are needing support.
Yes.
What I also loved about this program is this notion of developing creativity, because that's really how we develop critical thinking skills.
Right.
I was a business consultant for a number of years, and one of the things I really liked about it is that even though my first master's is in interdisciplinary arts, one of the things I loved about it is that I'm still thinking of myself as an artist, even as a therapist, but as a business consultant, surprisingly, the problem with businesses most often isn't money, right? They're always complaining about the money and short of money or wish they had more or whatever, but it really is thinking creatively, thinking of a new way, a new paradigm, a new way to work something, a new marketing technique, a new way to implement administration, something. And that creativity stays.
Yeah.
And it's also that curiosity, and I think that's part of why MSAE and the whole system you have there is so utterly amazing. And if people haven't checked this out, and you're not from Fairfield, or even if you are, what you should really get is how utterly amazing this place is. Because the implementation of that notion of creativity is really what gives it power. And that power is to be able to see things in a new way. So it's not just, we're winning lots of awards, which they are, you guys are, but it's also being able to think in a more full and dynamic way. It really is consciousness-based education, which isn't just a throw-out term, but really means something.
Right.
And, anyways, I don't mean to go on here.
No, but that's good. That's really good.
But, that's really where I see this kind of work, is
right.
like how you can really develop that notion. So everybody could, if you're smart, you could be a good robot, or you could be, they say the difference between, what makes a really good musician, for instance, isn't just the technical skill, it's the creativity, right? But that skill is so true when you're talking mathematics or physics or whatever subject we're talking about, because that's really where it is. And the development of that is, you might think, well, they're making a birdhouse. How does that help them? Because they're able to think and create, which gives them power, and they get that their mind could actually create something, and then that gives them power throughout their life.
Yeah, it's a great thing you've raised. And, another time, maybe we could go on forever about this.
Oh, I'd love to. Well, you're going to come back and visit us.
Fabulous. I'd love to.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Before we stop, Laura, what are the hours available?
So it would be in the afternoons. Unless there's somebody who really wants to do it, we could maybe adjust the schedule and do it in the morning. It's pretty flexible, between 9 and 4.
Okay. Laura, could they, if somebody had just a general question, could they also contact you as
Absolutely.
well? How could they get a hold of you?
My email, L Bordeaux, and I'm going to spell that, B as in boy, ORDOW @msae.edu.
In the school, how could they find out more information about the school if they didn't know much about it?
They can call me. So,
but they could also go to a website, couldn't they?
Yeah. MarischischoolIowa.org. And I'll spell that MAHARISHI, MarischischoolIowa.org. Forgot the Iowa. MarischischoolIowa.org.
Great. Fantastic. Thank you, both of you, so very much. This is great. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Bye.